稍微慢点。
慢一点。
嗯。
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So a lot has happened since I came back from the European trip with His Grace Sundar Gopal Prabhu and other devotees. Actually, before I left for the trip, I was already having a headache, and throughout the whole European trip, actually, I was feeling discomfort, having regular headaches and problem breathing. So when I came back, it got worse, and it actually developed into a pneumonia. Pneumonia I've had about 3 or 4 in my life since I have very weak lungs. So then I went to do some tests, CT scan and X-ray and all, and the doctor, by seeing the CT scan and X-ray, concluded that it was tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is even more complicated than pneumonia. It is actually a deadly disease if not treated, and it takes about 6 to 8 months depending on the process to cure. We are here in Guangzhou, my wife and I, and our son, Krishna Sudam, and we are with the other Matajis. And I'm staying in a separate room. As you can see, this is my bed and my things there. Because actually tuberculosis is an infectious disease, which means it can be transferred. So I have to be very careful not to affect the other devotees. We've done some tests, phlegm test, blood tests, and injection in the skin, and it all came out negative, which means no tuberculosis. But it's not 100% sure, so now I'm taking medicine. I have to wait to see if my lungs are getting better. We're going to be doing another CT scan or X-ray soon enough, and that will decide if I have it or not. Now that we're all caught up with the situation, I wanted to discuss a little bit about miseries, because in the beginning we might approach the Lord to get relief of miseries, and we might think that when we become devotee there won't be any miseries anymore. That is a wrong conception. Miseries will still be there, but they will not be given due to a reaction of our karma. From the day of initiation, the spiritual master takes away all the karmic reaction. So how is it possible that a devotee still suffers? We can take a look at a quote to understand more. This is the unique position of a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the king was cursed, he will come the cursed, because a devotee is always aware that nothing can happen without the desire of the Supreme Lord. So, if a devotee falls sick or goes through some difficult situation, it must have been sanctioned by Krishna. It must have been Krishna's desire. And how can Krishna's desire be bad for us? Then it goes on. This is a practical example of how a devotee thinks. He regards any reverses in life as blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, instead of being agitated by such reverses, he continues his activities of devotional service, and Krishna takes care of him and enables him to be promoted to the spiritual world, back to Godhead. If a devotee has to suffer the reactions of his past misdeeds, the Supreme Lord arranges for him to be given only a token of these reactions, and very soon he is freed from all the reactions of material contamination. So the Lord greatly reduces what we were supposed to endure. Prabhupada once said that sometimes one might read a book and cut his finger, and he said actually he might have died on that day. So that is how much the Lord is reducing our sinful activities. Billions of lifetimes removed simply from a little bit of suffering. A devotee should not be disturbed by unfortunate circumstances, but must continue his regular program, depending on the Lord for everything. So we should not be disturbed, because after all, this is the material world. It means suffering. It's a notion of suffering. So disturbances will be there. That's why Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita tells Arjuna titikshashva, which means to tolerate. You must tolerate this happiness and distress will come and go. Just like now, if it is raining, we must know sun will come. And when it's sunny, we must know for sure rain will come. So what is the use of lamenting? It is bound to happen. Here it is said, sometimes a representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets various so-called difficulties. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madai. And similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. So a devotee, we speak of someone who is a pure devotee, has complete realization that he is meant to serve the Lord. And his happiness and distress are dependent on the pleasure and displeasure of the Supreme Lord, and not at all related to the temporary position of the body. If the Lord is pleased, he is happy, regardless of which material condition he is in. The Lord Jesus Christ is the very nice example. Although he was being crucified, he asked the Lord to forgive them because they did not know what they were doing. Here's an excerpt from another letter. Sometimes Krishna may put us into some difficulty just to purify us and force us to advance in Krishna consciousness. The devotee should always see his difficulty in this light, that Krishna is so kind upon me for creating this condition of struggling. Thus he is relieving me of so many billions of lifetime of sinful reactions by this very insignificant and temporary condition of suffering something. So it is a fact that when a devotee is put into some difficulty, his devotional activities are accelerated. We surrender more because we see, yes, there is no other shelter but the Lord. So let him do what he wants. He wants to cure me, that's fine. He doesn't want, that's fine. It's still good for me. Just like a physician might open with a knife for surgical operation, but we know, yes, that is good. So the Lord sometimes puts us in difficulty to make us advance. And by this little suffering is actually a token of maybe billions of lifetime of sinful reaction. So how kind he is to give us just a little. Actually, the fact that he's taking so personal care of giving us a little bit of suffering is actually a very personal thing. He's actually personally taking care of us. That is a sign of love. So a devotee should be glad that the Lord is actually taking care of him or her in such a personal way. So anyway, because of my condition now, we are here in Guangzhou and we will be staying here. We might not go back to the Henan temple for some time, maybe a few months. We have to see the result first. And while we're here, we will help the preaching activities here. Just like there's one nice young lady who came. I wish I could have had a video. We had a very nice preaching program with her, very intelligent, very humble, and she has taken up the beads. She will be starting to chant 2 rounds a day from today and read every day. So that is the beginning. We are in the making of a new devotee. That is the most, I think, satisfying aspect of preaching, is that when we see somebody becoming a devotee, we see someone taking up this process of devotional life, getting his connection with Krishna and Srila Prabhupada, getting purified, advancing, becoming more and more blissful, realizing things, It's just like when you see your child grow up and walk and talk. All these things are very pleasurable. Similarly, to see someone being relieved of this material suffering of birth, death, disease, old age, and finally being reawakened to his spiritual identity, to remember that, yes, okay, I'm part and parcel of the Lord, I should be doing devotional service. That is very, very satisfying. So this is it. Thank you for following the vlog. Thank you for following us throughout all these ups and downs, so-called downs. And I feel bliss. If I have tuberculosis, then so be it. What else can I do? It is sanctioned by the Lord, so that's okay. My business will be the same: chanting, reading, trying to preach. So, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna Kirtana Gana Ratana Pano Premamritam Manidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyau Priyakarau Nirmasanau Pujitau Sri Chaitanya Kripa Bharau Bhubi Bhuva Bharavahantarakam